You know, Samuel took a stone and he set it up between Mizpah and Shin, which were two Old Testament communities, if you will, and he named that stone Ebenezer, and he did so to honor what God had done for the Israelite nation just previous to him placing the stone. And he said he named it Ebenezer because in translation that meant, thus far the Lord has helped us. I'm here on campus at the University of Montevallo. Behind me is Wills Hall, and back over a little bit further is Comer Hall. I had all of my English and literature classes in Comer. This campus is a great place of reflection for me. This is a place where I could sit and I could say, thus far, the Lord has helped me. Because when I came to the University of Montevallo, I was a wayward soul. I was not what you might say a good kid. In fact, I was the first of my brothers to ever graduate from high school, and so coming to college in and of itself was an accomplishment. But if I'm being honest, I probably came to escape more than anything. Behind me and just to my right is the ATO rock. That rock holds a special place in Montevallo folklore because it is the place of the fraternity Alpha Tau Omega. It's their Ebenezer Stone on this campus. It is in part sort of my Ebenezer Stone on this campus. You see, as part of a pledge class project years and years ago, long before I came here in 1996, the pledges of the fraternity Alpha Tau Omega painted that rock battleship gray as a way to beautify the campus. Of course, they did so with the campus's permission because the rock was tattered and birds had had their way on it and graffiti artists had added to it. A rival fraternity, thinking it would be entertaining, came behind the ATO pledge class just a few days later and sprayed graffiti all over it. And of course, the ATO pledge class, not to be outdone, came right back and painted it battleship gray. So for years, and I assume the tradition is still true today because I can't help but notice that it's battleship gray. For years, the fraternity brothers of Alpha Tau Omega have painted this rock, the ATO rock, and thus far, they have laid claim to it as a symbol, as a reflection, as a recollection of their time here at Montevallo. That rock brings me a lot of memories too. Other places on this campus do too. If you don't know, this is where Hannah and I met. We both came to school here in 1992, in the fall of 92. And we met sometime in the spring of 93, and we started dating sometime late that spring or maybe during the summer. I don't exactly remember when. I do know that one of our first dates was on the President's Lawn, which is not too far behind me over my shoulder. There are lots of great memories here, and when I think of the ATO Rock, or when I think of the King House, which is just down the street, or Napier, my old dorm, which is behind the cameras here, I see Ebenezer Stones everywhere, and I celebrate them. But you know, the reality is it's not an Ebenezer Stone if it doesn't turn us to God. If it simply reminds us of shenanigans and hooligan days with our fraternity brothers, or if it reminds us of first dates with our wives, then those things aren't necessarily Ebenezer Stones. They might just be trophies. We're pretty good as people about collecting trophies. We like to gather things. We go on vacations and buy trinkets to save, to remind us of our endeavors on vacation. It's just another form of a trophy. We have to remember Romans 8:12 reminds us that all things come together for the good and for the glory of God. And so it's one thing to say, hey, we used to paint that rock. It's another thing to say that rock taught me what it means to be community oriented, Or I might even say that rock reminds me of what it means to be cleansed. Because see, symbolically the ATO pledges come and they cleanse that rock in a manner of speaking. Not unlike what Jesus does in our life. I also might turn to Flower Hill, that notorious, if you will, place where Hannah and I share the fantastic story of me trying to impress her and ending up splitting my pants wide open. And to this day she cackles about it, and to this day I still get embarrassed about it. But I also might turn to that and simply celebrate the fact that she is the love of my life. And if I do that, it's nothing more than a trophy. But if I recognize that God brought me here for a reason, God brought me to this campus just so I could meet her, so that I would be the man I am today, then I can look at Flower Hill and say, you know what, that's where God really started to work in my life. And then the Ebenezer stone that is Flower Hill is not a trophy, but a reminder that thus far the Lord has been good to me, and He surely has. And you know what, friends, He's been good to you too. And so this Sunday morning I want to remind you that it's okay to celebrate the good things that have happened in your life, your children, your grandchildren, your spouse, accomplishments at work, vacations, winning the World Series, whatever the case may be. But do it with a reverent and mindful awareness that we only have what we have because of God's blessings. I have that old deer mount that my grandfather killed in 1959 in Talladega County, not too far from here. And it is an Ebenezer stone of sorts for me. It's a trophy, really, because it reminds me of him. And I suppose I should be more diligent about calling on God in my awareness of my relationship with my grandfather, but I guess I'm just trying to be transparent with you. Probably more than anything, that deer head reminds me of my grandfather, but he did teach me some great lessons. And I am grateful and thankful to have had him in my life for an albeit short amount of time. And so I wonder what you have around your house that you could call on in reflection and perhaps recognize how God was working at a time in your life where you could say, thus far, the Lord has been good to me. You know, it's also important for us to teach our family the value of those reflections. It's not just that we're buying a keychain at a theme park in Orlando. It is that there's value in the memories of the time spent together as a family. Mickey Mouse is great if you like that sort of stuff, but what's more important is the memory of riding the Ferris wheel together. And so perhaps the keychain of the Ferris wheel is not a recollection of the Mickey Mouses of life, but of the time spent as a family. And if we're intentional, we can frame those things not as trophies, but as Ebenezer stones. One last thing before I go, I just want to caution you too, that sometimes the things we hold on to in life are nothing more than relics. You see, just down the hall here is a brand new art center. I've never been in it. It's state of the art though, and it's a dynamic approach to theater and to communication studies and to all sorts of theatrical arts. I'm told that it is a beautiful facility through and through. To build that building, they tore down Jeter Hall. Jeter Hall was where I spent the vast majority of my time here at the University of Montevallo. That was where the political science majors and the history minors, which is what I was, studied all of our classes. And so I can't tell you how many times I walked in and out the doors of Jeter Hall to see Dr. Jesse Jackson. Not the Jesse Jackson you're probably thinking of, but it's easy to remember his name because of the association. Or his wife, Shirley Jackson, who was also a professor here at Montevallo, or Dr. Roy Lectrick, who, God rest his soul, had hearing aids as big as car batteries and still couldn't hear thunder. Those were the memories that I have, if you will, from Jeter Hall and the classes that I took there. And I must confess to you, I was upset when they tore down Jeter Hall, my beloved Jeter Hall, to build that Performing Arts Center, until I had some time to reflect on it. And I realized that Jeter Hall was outdated and not well maintained and dilapidated when I was a student here in the 90s. And I could only imagine the state of disrepair it was probably in for the students here today. And so Jeter Hall was not an Ebenezer Stone for me. It was not a trophy for me. You know what it was? It was a relic. And sometimes the best thing we can do with relics is just throw them in the trash and move on. And so, not that I had bad memories at Jeter Hall, and I don't even know where the political science and history students now go. They may very well go to the Performing Arts Center for their classes still. But I do know that sometimes in life we hold on to things, relics, scars, wounds, painful memories of the past, and they're not healthy. They were dilapidated as it was, and the best thing we can do is let go of them. And so I just want to encourage you today, friends, as we close this Sunday morning with this. Thus far, the Lord has been good, and good to me, and good to you too. And so let go of the relics, friends. Hold fast to the promises of how faithful God is to his people, and celebrate that. And I'll celebrate it with you. And I suppose every once in a while it's okay to pick up a trophy too, but somehow find a way to relate it back to how good God is. I love this campus. I think it's a great place. I can tell you that the people here changed my life. I'll be forever grateful for that. God used these people to save me. The whole campus is my Ebenezer Stone. And I'm so grateful, so very grateful. And so look around you and realize and see how God has been good to you. I love you, friends. Have a great Sunday morning.